Welcome to Creators Cafe. I'm your host, Jessica Payne. I'm a performer, performance coach, and multi-hyphenate creator. I'm going to be bringing you conversations with some of my favorite creators where we talk about the sublime and the specifics of the creative journey. So grab a drink, get cozy. Let's go. My guest, Miky Mik, is a power pop rock singer-songwriter and producer based in Los Angeles. Since picking up her first electric guitar at 14, she's been playing and writing songs ever since. Mik has developed a modern pop twist on 90s garage band pop punk. Her lyrics are empowering and aggressive in all the best ways. She's so fun on stage. She regularly performs as a frontman with her band in LA, including recent appearances at the Viper Room and the Whiskey that I got to see her at. I also enjoy her music videos, including her most recent one, Nuclear Fallout. She's collaborated with a lot of artists, including Young Care Bear and Stolen Audio, and she has several releases from her female pop-punk duo, Mick and Maxi. Also, by day, she's a brilliant scientist earning her PhD and a power punk rocker by night. How cool is she? Please enjoy my fantastic conversation with my friend, Miky Mik. Okay, welcome, Miky Mik, to Creators Cafe.
Excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, cheers. What are you drinking today?
Coffee with alt milk. Very good.
Nice.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, so this is from Andante, which is really good, down kind of by the Grove in LA. It's really tasty.
Very tasty, yes.
Oh, good. So how do you think about yourself as an artist?
Oh, as an artist, I think of myself as kind of an evolving artist. So over the past 10 years being in kind of the music industry, I feel like I've changed the projects that I've been working on a bit, the kind of projection of what I'm doing. So I think just as an artist, I feel myself constantly changing and growing.
Great. And so you are coming into the music industry and you're coming in as a singer and a guitar player primarily. So kind of a front woman of a band.
Exactly.
So how do you, when somebody says, what do you do in music? How do you talk about that?
Yeah, so now I normally just say I'm a front man, which people are like, wait a second, front man. I was like, I like that name. I'll go with that one.
Awesome. I love it.
But yeah, and I started out as just kind of a guitarist and doing backup vocals, and then it kind of evolved to being the front man of the project where I started kind of growing into my own project. So, so normally just say the front man for now.
I love it.
We'll see where that goes. Yeah.
So when you started, did you start just playing guitar in a room by yourself? Did you start with lessons? Did you start by doing School of Rock or something? What did you do?
Yeah, so when I was 14, I started picking up guitar. So my mom had purchased a guitar and just left it around the house and thought my brother or I would pick it up at one point.
Yeah.
And then finally I was like, wait, the music that I like, this is how they're making it.
Yeah.
So I picked up guitar and then I picked up some lessons when I was in high school on guitar. So I had some formal practice. Yeah.
Did you start on an acoustic guitar or electric?
Electric. So I was so lucky. My mom had a red Fender Strat. So it was such a cool guitar to start with. And I still have it today.
That's so cool.
Yeah. So it was electric guitar with this mini little PV amp. So it was a good way to start. Most people start in acoustic, but I've had the Fender Strat to start with.
I started on acoustic and I never went electric and never got good. And I wonder if I need to just play around with an electric sometime.
Possibly, but I have a couple if you want to borrow one.
I might. Check back later.
Yeah.
Which of your guitars is your favorite to play in live shows?
Yeah, so I kind of go in between different guitars. Sometimes it's my newest guitar that I favor as my new baby. I would say my Gibson Les Paul is probably my favorite. It's a Goddess, so it's smaller body, smaller frets, lighter weight than most of the Gibson Les Pauls, which are really heavy and large. So it's kind of a perfect fit for me.
Yeah, yeah, that's cool. I actually, when I started on acoustic, my mom had I think it's a 3/4 size guitar, and so it's a little bit fits the female body better. And it's so funny how just having that acknowledgement of we're a little smaller helps a lot.
Smaller frets, the action's lower. Yeah, it's a great guitar, and it's purple starburst, so you don't really see that much on Gibson.
That's cool.
But I just got a Kramer recently, and it's bright green. I love that one. So it's another fun one for stage, for sure. So I've been favoring that one, but
really cool. And you play bass as well, right?
I have
a little
played
bit?
bass in the past.
Okay.
Just kind of have jumped on projects for people playing
Got it.
bass, but it's not really the main thing that I do.
Yeah. Okay. When you started playing guitar, what were the songs that you were excited and pulled towards, like when you were when you were a teenager and taking lessons and just getting started? What were your initial influences back then?
Yeah, my initial kind of draw towards music in general was Green Day, and so Green Day's been so prolific. So when I started playing, I don't remember which album they were on at that point, but I think I was learning Green Day songs because it was like pop power chord progressions. They were perfect for kind of the initial way to learn guitar. I haven't really moved from that. I'm still doing pop power chord progressions. So
it works, right?
Started with that, finishing with that. Yeah. So Green Day was probably what was my biggest influence into music and my biggest influence for learning songs too.
Got it.
Yeah.
Since then, you've kind of explored the punk area and you have a very powerful presence on stage, which I'm going to come back to and I love. And it, I think you remind me of kind of early Gwen Stefani in some ways. My friend who came to see you was like, yeah, she's like Avril, like all the best parts of Avril Lavigne. But I think you also have this special style that's also your own. Where do you see yourself now, like musically and aesthetically and kind of the direction you're headed?
Yeah, and all that's such a compliment. All of those artists are so amazing. So people I definitely looked up to in music. I see myself now as it kind of progressed that I'm doing, now that I'm more of a frontman and some of my songs I do just vocals on and not guitar. I definitely see myself as like a character that's changing quite a bit. But to place myself in any one area is kind of difficult because I'm like, I don't know where I'm going. It just happens.
Yeah, totally. Well, and I know sometimes I feel like resistant kind of like that typecasting, even of like, I just want to explore. I don't want you to tell me where I am. Yeah,
and I love all the people that you mentioned. For those is like the roots of the project, the soul of the project. It's definitely such a great starting point to move forward from.
Yeah. And you've done a lot of different kinds of collaboration over time. I know you started off kind of in a two-woman group. Can you talk about that?
Yeah. So one of the projects I was on was, a two-piece girl group. So even playing live, it was fun. It was just the two of us. And from being in like so many bands throughout my life, it's so easy just to be in a two-piece and just be really close with the person. That one other person. So it's such a great experience having that.
Yeah, and you had a couple of music videos with her. Can you talk about who your partner was and how that kind of worked out?
So that was the Mick and Maxie project. So Maxie is just a multi-talented person. She's like actor, musician, comedian. She's like everything all in one. So especially doing music videos, it was so fun because she had so much input from being an actress and everything. And then on stage, she's a comedian, so she could bring that aspect to our live performance. So I think doing the music videos was just really fun with her. Yeah, it was great having someone there because right now in this solo project, it's really just me. Yeah. It's so fun having a partner to do things with,
Absolutely.
And to celebrate things like releasing songs, releasing music videos. Yeah.
And I met her at one of your shows at the Viper Room, which was really fun because she was like... you could tell like she had, moved to different areas of her career. Yeah. And I follow her as a comedian. She's really funny. But at the same time, she was like such a fan of yours. And so it's so sweet to see her celebrating you and your music.
Yeah, she's such a supportive person. So like when I'm playing, I'll see her in the audience and she knows the lyrics and everything. And so it's just so supportive to see her still there. And people love seeing her. So people who've never even met her, who've only seen really the solo project, they can just identify her in a crowd, the tall blonde girl.
Exactly.
Like, oh, that's Maxie. And it's like, yeah.
So was that kind of your first... like when you moved to LA to focus on music, was that the first iteration of your band here or was there something else?
No, so there was actually a project before that kind of grew into Mick and Maxie. So I had another group where I was just doing guitar and vocals with one of my best friends. So that was, I think it was like a 4-piece group. We kind of switched it up every now and then. Yeah. A 4-piece group. As that evolved, we ended up pulling in Maxie originally for that band, but that band was kind of falling apart at the time. And that's where I started a band with her originally as a 3-piece and then migrated to the 2-piece with her.
Because she's on drums, yeah?
Yeah, yeah,
Nice.
exactly. So she's on drums and I was on guitar and then vocals. And that's when we went to the 2-piece setting. Yeah.
That's really cool.
So it evolved from like, I think like a 4-piece to a 3-piece to a 2-piece. And it was like, you know what? It's perfect just to have really solid people in your band that you can work with and depend on.
Yeah. How did you go about with that very first 4-piece? Did you like put an ad out on Craigslist or did you go to shows and talk to people?
I can't remember how everything came together. I was like, I think it was just pulling from different areas that we knew people from.
Okay.
So it's kind of like, oh, this person knows this person knows this bassist and stuff like that. I think maybe at one point we had some Craigslist ads up for musicians when we were kind of working through different members of the band. But it was a lot of just pulling from different areas of like networking through people.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's a little bit foreign to me, and I love going to see live music, but I've never officially been part of a rock band, even though I sing. And I've always wondered just like how that magic comes together. If you didn't like start it in high school or college, like how do you make a band?
Yeah, and it's definitely all about the chemistry between people, and it's like family because you can love people for everything in there, but also kind of like have so many problems with people.
Yeah.
So being in a band is just loving them for every aspect, which can be difficult, but it's a family, you know, you're stuck together, and that's kind of the fun struggle of being in a band. And then again, you get to celebrate everything together, and when things go good, you're all there together. It's a great feeling being in a band.
I love that.
Yeah, I miss that for sure. I definitely miss that aspect of having an entire band around me.
Yeah. When I saw you, you've played recently at the Whiskey and you've played at the Viper Room here on Sunset. How did you get those shows? How did that kind of come about?
Yeah, so I think just from being in the scene and playing with other bands, we've had we know bookers for the venue. So from knowing the bookers, they kind of send out emails thinking like, hey, we'd be good. We think you're good for this show or something like that. Or if we're reaching out, hey, we want to play a show in this month.
Yeah.
Then they kind of find something to put us on that's maybe similar band, similar music. So
and then the audience who like stays to watch can like, you know, meet and see new people and see what you're doing.
The point of playing out, it's fun to play with like friends and family, but it's also fun to meet new people and other musicians and stuff. So it's a great part of playing out.
Yeah. When I saw you, you had, I think a 3-piece at one of them and a 4-piece at another. How do you, if you don't have like a current permanent band set up, are you like just finding people to play that one-off show and rehearsing with them, or how does that work?
So I mean, I have kind of the main people that I work with. So my friend Justin does bass, and so he's like
so
solid.
good. I really like him.
He's like part of the band, Justin. He's been solid in there. And then I work with a lot of people. So we have Marley on drums. She's amazing. But Marley has her own career with music and everything too. So she's kind of busy. So we'll kind of pull in other people. And we just got this cool guitarist, Nick, in the band. So I just played a show with him and it went amazing. So I'm so happy to have him kind of joining in for shows right now.
Yeah.
It's just kind of pulling in from different areas of whenever I can get people in and what works with everyone's scheduling, as everyone is so busy.
Yeah. Yeah. Where do you rehearse? Like, do you book out a studio locally?
I have a lockout in Westwood. So I rehearse over there. It's this teeny little lockout. And as you said, the band has changed. There's different iterations, more people, less people. But I have this teeny lockout and we all smash into it.
Okay. Nice. And do you just like... is that a shared space, or you sign up for it, or you just have it
it's
ongoing?
Just mine, actually.
Oh, that's so great.
When I moved here, I had to have a place where I could be loud. And so I can't really be loud here.
Yeah.
So I had to find another place that I could, crank up my amp to 11, of course.
Absolutely.
And so, I have like my drum set, my amp, I have my little mini fridge. I have everything. It's all.
That's so perfect. You've got a little studio.
It's perfect. Yeah. So it's a great space to go to, and it's perfect because when I'm there, it's about music.
Yeah.
When you're kind of doing music in your home setting, there's so many distractions. My cat's screaming at me to feed it and stuff, and I'm like, okay, I had a good idea, but now my cat needs to be fed.
Yeah.
So there's a lot going on. So it's great to have a place just to go to focus on music and then get the whole band in there and rehearse.
Yeah.
But that's where I do a good amount of my writing. So I'll just kind of go there and have a low key kind of just like hang out on the floor in the studio and write music. Yeah.
Okay, two questions. I was going to ask about your cat later. Your cat Marshmallow is so fantastic. He's white and fluffy and has such a great personality. Does he like the music? Does he sing along? Is he annoyed by it? What is his stance?
So I say he's my number one fan because he has no problem being around loud noises or anything, but he's also deaf. So so he loves being around it. He would sit actually like right in front of my amp. I'm sure he feels some vibrations and stuff. Yeah. Probably heat from the amp too that he likes, but he's never had a problem with it. So I say he's my number one fan, but he has no clue what I sound like. So he's just blindly supporting me all the time.
Just like, let's go. And then this is great because I wanted to ask about the writing process for you. Do you start with concept or lyrics, or do you hear it first, or do you just kind of attack all three at once?
It's normally just picking up my guitar, getting a riff, and then the lyrics kind of come out naturally, I would say. So I think because I started as a guitarist, not necessarily a singer, the guitar is always like the first foundation of a song.
Got it.
Every now and then I'll come up with lyrical ideas and kind of go backwards, like reverse the process. But most naturally it comes to me with guitar on, writing something, and then vocals fall in after.
That's so great. Okay, nice. And what are maybe some of your influences from the writing world? Do you see yourself writing in a certain style, or do you notice that your sound is one thing and your look is a different thing, but then I think your writing and your lyrics are really interesting and maybe are like kind of in a different arena. Where do you get your influence for your lyrics?
Yeah, I definitely think, the main vibe of my lyrics is definitely like more like women empowerment and taking on that. I think most songs are about love. And when you talk about love songs, there's always kind of like more of like a victim stance on like being dumped, being left. And I think mine are more of a progressive view of looking at women empowerment in songs. So I think that's what most of my lyrics are. Instead of being defensive, being more like, I don't know, offensive, being on the front line of it. And that's why sometimes they seem to be really aggressive. I'm like, this is a love song. And people are like, this doesn't sound like love. And I'm like, that's an aggressive love song.
It's an aggressive love song.
It's from a female's point of view of going through relationships, things not working out. And it's kind of a part of me that I like to express because it is based off of my background, but it's the way that I would like to be kind of portrayed more. On the front line of that, instead of being like victimized, being like counter-offense here.
In that powerful position, Do you find you mostly write from like lived experience or an interpretation of it or imagined, or is it a mix?
Yeah, I probably blur the lines between them because you're right. I think the foundation is definitely off of my personal experience, my emotions that have like come about from situations. But I think you're right. I think at one point it's probably an interpretation of that. Interpretation of that definitely from when I look at some of I'm like going through my lyrics in my head right now, like, was that real or not? Did I make that up? No.
Well, and a lot of times it's like the amplification of the kernel of a different idea.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what it is. I think that's a good way to say it, the amplification from a main concept of something that actually happened.
Yeah, right. There's truth in the art, even if it's not literal truth.
Yeah, and sometimes it's situational, and so it's like the kind of like the follow-up of what would happen. So lyrically, it like just goes further than maybe the actual in-person account did. Yeah.
This is a funny question, but now that you're kind of in a more maybe settled place in your life than we might have felt at like 21 and going through like lots of relationship and life angst. Do you find that your lyrics have shifted, or you still have that same like place of power and fight to come from, and so it's just taking that same core feeling and applying it to different situations?
That's really funny that you said that, because I think I'm doing the exact same thing I was doing when I was 15 and 14.
Nice.
But I think it's the same. It's basically coming from the same place, and it's that same style. And I think when I listen to music, when I hear like artists like Courtney Love, who are just like, they're aggressive, they're powerful, and I love that impression. I love the impression that music leaves me with. Yeah. I think that I've just always strived to do that, and I think I'm just hopefully getting better and better at it.
Great.
So I think it's always been that core, same emotion, same feeling, that kind of empowerment feeling.
Yeah. Nice. I definitely get that when I listen to your music. And what I love about it is even when you are collabing with somebody else, you still always bring that core of that sound and empowerment, which is great.
Thank you.
I was having dinner with a friend last night who actually I had brought to see your show. And one of the things we were talking about is how powerful you are on stage and just the size of your presence and how confident you are and how aggressive, like you were saying, you are. And then he said, yeah, I loved her. And she was like just powerful all over the stage. And he said she was, I don't want this to sound wrong, but it came across as bratty in all of the best ways. And the like, I don't care what you think. Yeah. This is what I think. Yeah. And I feel powerful. And then he said, but he saw, you know, we like finished up the show and talked to you outside. And he was like, she was so sweet and so kind and so humble and all of this stuff. And it was just cool to see that dichotomy. Yeah. Do you feel like you're the same person when you're on stage? Do you feel like you're tapping into something different? How does that like off-stage life into on-stage like full presence feel for you? You know,
I think it's of course the same person, but when you're in like more one-on-one situations with people, it's a little bit more easy to be relatable. When you're on stage, it's just like, well, this is me. This is all of me. Yeah. And it's, you know, me doing me. Yeah. When you're with other people, there's so much more communication involved that it's like listening and understanding. Yeah. So I think I'm probably a lot nicer in person than I am on stage, but I love the bratty. I love the bratty thing. That's something I would go for, like the Bratz Barbie doll kind of thing.
Absolutely. I was like, it's kind of like the
compliment. I love that.
Yeah, I was like, it sounds weird to say, but it's like there's something in it that's nice because it's almost kind of like it's rebellious, but with a like fashion forward, like yeah, I am like in charge of myself and I know what I'm doing, and you're welcome to be part of this or not. I don't care.
And I think that's something that I've always kind of had with music too, that I've wanted to always just make sure that when I'm on stage, I'm like 100% myself, unapologetic, and that it's just moving forward with that. It's just that's the only thing I'm doing here on stage.
I really love and admire that because I think I you know, I am a musician, but I'm also an actor. And so a lot of times I get to like lean into a role. And so I'm 100% in that role. And so then whenever I find myself in a situation where I'm singing and I don't really have like a persona or a character and I didn't write the lyrics, I find myself kind of trying to navigate like, am I a character? Am I just singing this? Yeah. And so it's so wonderful for me to see you as yourself, being completely yourself, singing things that you have written from the heart, because that's just not what my experience of performing has been. So I really love that.
That is so different. I can see that, if you're leaning into a persona that's written, you're trying to kind of channel energy for something. It's like, here I think I'm just working hard to channel my own energy, you know?
How do you find that? Do you find yourself like, you know, because life pulls you off center. Life pulls us all off center at times. So how do you channel your own energy?
You know, I think on stage, it's really just having everybody there, kind of like the feedback of energy is really what helps to channel my own energy. But I will say, even when I like practice, even in my little lockout by myself, I mean, I have just so much energy because I love my music so much. I love playing music. It's just so fun that it just engages me, I think, to a point where it brings that out.
That's so great. All right. So you have a really cool online presence that I think represents you really well. So how do you think about using social media as a tool that serves you as an artist authentically, but also like is a place for you to help continue to define and channel yourself as an artist?
Yeah, that's a hard question to answer, I feel like. So using it as a tool, I definitely like to, be able to use it as a platform to promote my music videos and things that I do. But at the same time, I think using clips from what's going on in my real life, it's a way to kind of channel or use it as kind of like a more personal view of myself than just like a music video or something, or just listening to a song.
Right.
So I think it personalizes me a bit, and it gives me kind of that outlet to be myself a bit. Yeah.
Oh, nice. I like that. When you're, so when you're thinking about posting things that are more on that personal side, something I notice is your aesthetic is really powerful. And I know we've talked about like the difference of like what you wear in normal life, like normal life feeling yourself, right?
Yeah.
Not going to a day job or anything, but normal life feeling yourself. And then being on stage, you do have to kind of amp it up to be on stage, right? Like your stage makeup is going to look really jarring if you're just walking to get a coffee.
Exactly. And my stage outfits too, or music video outfits, if I'm just walking into Starbucks with an outfit like that or something, it's like, what is going on?
Exactly. So how do you kind of walk that line of feeling like yourself, but also finding that, you know, kind of you have a very strong aesthetic?
Yeah, I definitely have like different wardrobe sets in my closet. Like I have 3 different areas of my wardrobe. Like my normal daily wear, then my like stage music video wear. Yeah. Which I think to anyone else, my stage music video wear would be like their Halloween costumes or something. And I'm like, no, that's like my favorite clothing that I love wearing.
Yeah. So in your closet, you've got like kind of
different vibes of clothing. Yeah.
The stage stuff that's really extreme.
Yeah.
You've got the like, this is what I would wear to a cafe.
Yeah.
This is just me being me. And then there's the like, if I need to like dress professional and
looking.
Traditional.
Exactly. Those
business.
are my 3 different wardrobes that I have, and I have them all separated in my closet. So it's like when I go in, I have to go in with the vibe of what's today going to be? Yeah. Professional or stage wear?
That's so funny. One of my best friends is a performer in Vegas, and her closet is my favorite place to go because it's just like things that I would... Yeah, they feel like Halloween costumes. She looks fantastic in them. And she'll like get dressed and then she's like, I need more belts.
More belts.
And she's like wearing a bra and shorts and giant boots and a jacket and 8 belts. Yeah. And she looks fantastic.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. You know, I kind of think back at like the Clueless closet where they're like, have the rotating closet and picking out their outfits. That would be my dream closet right now.
That sounds so great. Is there anybody or anything that influences your visual aesthetic, or you just go with what you like?
You know, I go with what I like, but I hear people always saying things like, oh, you look like this or something. So my last show, someone's telling me that I look like the TLC vibe, and I'm like, well, that's the coolest thing ever. I didn't even realize that was so influential on me, probably, like bringing back clothing from that era. But
I love that era.
I was like, that is like the biggest compliment ever. Or like the Gwen Stefani compliments. I get those a lot, I think. Yeah. Just the blonde with the crop top.
Sure.
is the Gwen Stefani vibe, you know?
Absolutely.
So I guess I don't realize how influential so many musicians have been on me for my style, but I'm sure that's probably what I'm drawing from subconsciously, and people see that clearly.
Well, and it's also great because I don't think you realize how influential you are then out in the world, right? Because even for me, I get sucked into the probably more traditional side, but that's not actually who I am or where I naturally would want to live. Yeah. And so just seeing someone that I see regularly and respect and admire so much, being like, yeah, I can be like a smart professional woman and dress however the fuck I want.
Yeah, exactly.
Is so freeing for me to remember that.
And I think, like when you kind of get stuck in like the daily clothing look of like just trying to get to the grocery store and back versus like, oh, this is a stage wear, this is a music video wear kind of thing. It's hard to kind of balance all of that, but it's fun to be able to still have that aspect and go out.
Yeah. I love it. Okay, big swing. So one of the other things that you do is you are not only a musician and an artist, you also are a scientist. And you are going to get your PhD. And I just love this so much. You're brilliant, and I love hearing you talk about what your passions are in that arena too. And I think there's so much, like I love science, and I think there's so much similar in the way that artists kind of explore the unknown and scientists, especially at the cutting edge, kind of explore the unknown. So I guess first off, just can you tell us about what your PhD program is and why you're going in that direction? Yeah,
so my PhD program is building off my master's degree. So my master's is in molecular and cellular, and now I'm kind of moving into microbiology and environmental science. So I'm looking at mostly bacteria aloft is what I'm aiming towards at this point.
Bacteria?
So bacteria aloft, just in the atmosphere. So atmospheric bacteria. So any kind of microbes that we can find in the atmosphere and looking at their contribution to pollutants such as methane gases.
So then the applications of that could work on like helping combat climate change is the idea?
Exactly, yeah.
Okay.
So depending on the findings of the project, it would be looking into bacteria that can either break down methane or create methane and looking at the balance between the two.
That's incredible. What would be the ideal of the direction for you to go with that? I know like you're... no one has their thesis figured out when they start, and that's totally fine. But what is it like you want to work on the applied science part of that, or you want to like help discover the proteins? You've also talked about like sending things to space. Can you break that down for us?
Yeah, so there was kind of a collaborative effort with NASA in sending up sounding rockets to sample the atmosphere. So kind of the goal of the project is to be able to send sensors up to the uppermost kind of limits of the atmosphere to see kind of what microbes are around. And then we have these ideas of what we think is there, but the main point of what I would want to do is not what we think is there, is actually find out what is there. And that's where I want to look at what's the level of kind of methanogens, methanotropes, methanophiles, kind of extremophile bacteria too.
Wow.
And their contribution to the atmosphere and the levels of kind of greenhouse gases. Yeah. And we may find nothing there. We might find nothing. Maybe we'll send sensors up. It will be really expensive and we'll find nothing. But finding nothing is finding something because now you know there's nothing.
That's the information
that you could detect.
Yeah. Wow. That's fascinating.
Yeah.
And what was your work for your master's? What was that focused on?
Yeah, so I focused on a couple different projects. So I was in an interdisciplinary laboratory with kind of physics and the biological sciences, where we worked on kind of evolution of the cell wall in plant cells.
Okay.
I had that project. I had a couple other projects as well. I was looking at virulence factors of bacteria, protein cloning, and we were looking at the structure of the bacteria to see if it was these proteins were similar to human proteins, so if they were kind of mimicking one another, and how do they interact with one another in vitro versus in vivo.
Wow.
So a couple different projects.
Yeah, so that can go a lot of different ways.
Yeah.
Are there any things that you notice when you kind of switch from science mode to music mode that you notice these tendencies in how you think or how you approach things are similar, or are they very different? Where do you have to kind of shift, and where do you get to use the same core values?
Yeah, it's a good question because I feel like these are two separate parts of my life, but in actuality, it's all the same. I think the only thing changing is the presentation of myself. It's like my wardrobe that changes from one to the other.
Yeah.
But the creativity that I use in music is the same thing I use in science. In order to come up with kind of novel ideas, to explore something new, you have to be creative. People think science isn't creative. It's the exact opposite. Science is probably one of the most creative fields that you can move into because it's all about innovation. It's all about taking something that we know that maybe happens naturally, so like in vivo, to an in vitro situation.
Wow.
So I think, just kind of drawing on that creativity. I use them in both fields, and it's the basis for both of them.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I love it so much.
And I love hearing about your love for the sciences too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Miss Frizzle, big inspiration.
Exactly. Yeah. If somebody's listening and doesn't know, I was, so you were talking about working in kind of the development and figuring out the environmental gases and how that could impact climate change. And one of my projects that I was on is I was Miss Frizzle in the national tour of The Climate Challenge, which is a book that kind of introduces kids to the science of what's going on with changing climate.
Yeah, so important. I love that.
Yeah, and it's so great because it doesn't back away from the science of it. It just makes it understandable for kids.
Yeah.
And, what can you do if you hear scary things? What effects and choices can you have? And it's cool because I realized that was long enough ago that some of the people who saw that now could be going into that in college and could be, you never know all of the things that affect someone's life path of maybe someone heard that and that changed what they're thinking about and they went into science. And,
that would be, I'm sure you have changed somebody like that.
And you never know. You just have to kind of put it out there and see what happens. But I just love that idea of the stories that we tell affecting us on that bigger scale of, like you get to be both. You get to be a musician and a scientist, and I get to be a singer and actor who talks about science. And my TV pilot that I'm writing is, my character is a scientist, and so I get to, with the research for that, I get to dive deeper into the science of that.
Exactly,
Yeah.
and it's like, again, it's like, I think they're actually running in parallel, like those two projects. And I think you're probably realizing that too. That they actually can coexist, that they're not separate from one another.
Exactly. And so many scientists now talk about how they were influenced by things like Star Trek and like just the idea that, we could do this. Great, let's make it. And so I think that the arts and the sciences really are two sides of the same coin of exploration. So I love seeing that you get to do both simultaneously.
And I'd even say like things like the X-Files. So if we're looking at creativity, we're looking at kind of the film industry. So X-Files was so influential on me. I mean, Scully being a female in the sciences, I mean, that's probably something that is underrated. I think X-Files has really converted a lot of people, a lot of women into the sciences too.
Yeah, right. Because it's just one of those, like even like what you were saying with TLC, a lot of times you don't recognize the subtle influences that you did have until decades later, even maybe.
Exactly.
And then you're like, oh, that changed my life, and I had no idea.
And end up with like short red hair next, like Scully.
You would look great in it. I think it totally would work. Yeah. Oh, that's funny. I want like a punk science song next.
A punk science
that would be
exactly,
awesome.
Just write my thesis proposal like into a song. There we go.
I mean,
we'll see if that works.
I think it's
see if that works.
A great bonus. It would like get a lot more attention than most PhD thesis would.
Like, this is not a boring presentation.
Yeah,
I'm putting this on guitar here. This is a song.
I would listen to that so fast. Oh, wow. So when you're kind of looking forward into your musical side of your career, what are you most excited about?
Most excited about things to come. Probably the songs I haven't written yet. I'm most excited about those. Every time I write a song, it's like a baby, and then it goes into a collection. It's like, I love kind of building up this profile of songs. So I think I'm looking forward to writing more. I love doing music videos. They're so fun. So get the acting side a little bit.
Absolutely. I really love watching your music videos because I think they encapsulate that powerful empowerment that you've talked about in just a slightly different format. And it's cool to see the evolution of your music videos through time, just because the production values change and who you're interacting with changes and what the set is. How do you go about conceiving a music video and then finding a team to help make it happen? You're kind of in charge of all of that. It's not like you have this huge team doing that. So, but it looks fantastic. So how do you get through that process?
I have some really great people that I work with. So my last video, I was working with a friend, Vincente, who made it, and he's just so organized, so amazing. He showed up, we got everything shot really quick.
Yeah.
So having a really solid team around you, I think is kind of what makes making a music video less stressful. So you come in with ideas, but I found that for my previous music videos, whatever ideas I come in with don't really end up being there in the end. Live, they don't really work out sometimes. So,
it's more like a jumping off point of like, I'm thinking this, and then you see where it actually grows.
So I've kind of overly planned for music videos before and then found out that's actually a bad approach, because then I come in with expectations for certain things. And this last music video I did, I was just like, I'm going to buy some cool clothing and I'm just going to be myself in this music video. And I'm going to work with this director that I love and see what happens. And I think I just wanted something that was like fun, energetic, fast, to match the song. And I think that's exactly what he was able to produce from the video. And I kind of came in with no concept of really where it was going. And I really liked that idea because it came out just fun. That's all I really wanted.
Was that for Nuclear Fallout?
That was the Nuclear Fallout video that came out. It was just like, just
so
fun and colorful. That's all really I was going for there.
And you've got, you've definitely come across as the frontman character who's like energetic in that lead character energy. But then we also get a lot of special shots on the band and getting to see those close-ups and everything. Where do you film those videos?
All in LA. LA studios here. So it depends on what music video, but that one was shot in a studio in LA.
Okay, great. How do you find those if somebody's like, because I have a lot of creatives who listen to the podcast, and some of them are at the very beginning of their journey. So if they've like got a baby band together and they've got one song and they want to make their music video, how would you recommend they get started?
I would say come up maybe with a concept or just the impression you want to make from the video. I think when you're with a band with multiple people, that's really hard to come up with. People are not always going to agree on what exactly you want.
Yeah.
Like me personally, I'm just like, I like a music video to be able to be played in the background of like a party.
Yeah.
And it just be aesthetically pleasing and fun.
Great.
While other people who are maybe more into acting are like, no, this needs to have like a whole story plot and everything.
Right. Because there are the people who prefer a narrative where it's like it starts here and it has a climax and then it ends.
Exactly.
And then there's some people who just want it to feel like kind of the vibes of a moment.
Yeah,
and
exactly. Just like an active moment, an ongoing moment of sound.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, and I think yours is such a great visual encapsulation of what the sound is that it feels really good and really right.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But I would say, for anybody who's in LA, making a music video is quite easy because there's so many studios here to work with.
Yeah.
So I think that's a great way to start, is working with a studio, because it's so much easier with lighting and and everything. They're designed to be filmed in. Whereas if you're trying to film maybe at home, you're going to maybe have issues with, issues with lighting and stuff like that. And you can't get around to certain areas if you're doing an active music video where you're moving around,
Yeah. Do you think about the choreography of it as well? Or do you just go into it and think like, I'm going to move how the music moves me?
I think that's, how the music moves me. It's basically kind of like an onstage performance, just with the camera.
Yeah.
To be honest, it's kind of how I approach it. Which maybe, I don't know if that's the right way, but that's how I approach it.
Well, I think it works for you, so it's the right way. And I really do think it works for you. And I don't know that it would work for everybody, but it also is part of like, you're creating the music and you are the front man, and it all is yours. It's not like you're trying to step into somebody else's vision. It's your vision, so it works.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. You recently had an interview in a magazine, and one of the things that you talked about was your purpose and your feel for making music is just trying to reach one person.
Yeah.
Can you talk about that?
Yeah, just trying to reach one person. So I think that kind of goes back to kind of the emotional core of the songs, that a lot of them are written off of my personal experiences, but if other people can relate to them, that's kind of what I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
So if I can just get the attention of one person to be like, yeah, I understand these emotions, I understand these feelings. I think that's the main point of making music, is to be relatable.
Yeah.
So it's like an audio form of an emotion, so like a sound wave of emotion that you want just other people to be able to feel the way you feel. So instead of saying the way you feel, it's like they feel it through the sound, essentially. That's like transferring emotion to someone.
Right, and then it's like you deeply understand where they're coming from.
Exactly.
And
even if
you've probably experienced it.
Exactly, and even if they have a different interpretation of the song, that's fine too. It's still just conveying an emotion to someone. It's kind of like lighting a fire in someone. Yeah.
I really like that. When you look back at all of the songs and music videos that you have created and put out into the world, what is a highlight that you're particularly proud of?
I love all my music videos, so I'm happy with all of them.
Great.
So a highlight of which ones I'm particularly proud of, I'm just happy that I was able to have them come together and successfully release them at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Because there's so much planning that goes into it that I'm just proud that they're out there, that, that I have something existing. I know with some projects that I've worked on, we've released music, and if the band breaks up or falls apart, that music ends up coming down from being online, from being on streaming platforms. And I felt like I've kind of lost a lot of that.
Yeah.
Whereas with the music videos, those are residual. They stick around. So they've been released and they're out there, and they will most likely always be out there. I've had some people take down music videos that we've done together, but they're like, I'm moving on, different phase of life. But just having them out there, to me, is probably what I'm kind of proud of, to have that background of my music. Yeah.
As an artist, what scares you?
Ooh, what scares me as an artist? I think, being kind of in the industry and doing music for the past 10 years, I've kind of had the struggles already, and I'm not too scared of really anything in there, like a failing, because it's like that's the setup, that's the projected path for music is failing. So I don't think that there's really anything that scares me because it's not really failing if that's a projected path, you know?
You're just like, I'm on the path, I'm making music.
Exactly, I'm doing exactly
what I want to be doing.
So I'm not really too scared of it in any aspect at this point.
I love that.
Yeah, and I think that I've definitely evolved as an artist. So starting in just bands, playing guitar, to kind of doing my own project, writing my own songs, and orchestrating the entire thing. I don't think any of it has really been scary. It's more been fun, like a good challenge.
That's great. When you orchestrate, are you writing charts out, or are you putting it into a program, or how do you go about that?
Yeah, so for writing music, so I'm not like traditionally trained in music, but normally just getting it into Pro Tools is kind of the first step, or something, or some kind of recording software.
Yeah.
So currently I've been working with a producer, and so I take a lot of my ideas that I just record on my cell phone, and then I take it to them, and then we lay out kind of a better demo version of the song.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, because everybody has a different path, and you know, I was classically trained in music, but I think that sometimes that is a hurdle for some people because it's less just, you know, oh, I have this idea. Yeah. What can we do with this? And it's more maybe cerebral and a little less artistic from a like emotional core for me. Yeah. Not for anybody else, but sometimes that happens. So I always love hearing how people get their ideas kind of from the ether and make them real.
Down. Yeah. So, always starts with the guitar for me, and then the vocals, like the lyrics just kind of come after normally. Yeah. Yeah. And I've written a lot of songs where I start with the lyrics, but then I try to put guitar to it, and I feel like I struggle more that way. I feel like the instrument brings out the emotions for me.
And especially if what you're doing is you're really trying to hook into the emotion, and the guitar echoes that emotion and is the sound of that emotion, then it makes sense to start from that direction. I love it. So for my audience, I like to ask for a creator's challenge.
Creator's challenge.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So what would you suggest for somebody who just wants to kind of have something to experiment with?
Yeah, I would say, I mean, for anybody trying to get creative with music, there's so many ways that technology has really changed music that it's so much easier now. I mean, you can download an app on your phone for a little keyboard and just make up a melody on a keyboard. Yeah. I would say for someone trying to write a song, I would say a lot of people approach music from writing the vocals first before they write the instrumental part. Yeah. I would say even kind of starting like a diary or journaling, and then like highlighting your main points and then pulling them into some kind of melody or something. So I think that would be a cool creative challenge for someone who's trying to take their emotions and put them into a sound file, you know, into the form of music.
I love that. Okay, so the creator's challenge is write down your emotions in a journal about a topic. Yeah. Highlight kind of the core ideas and then take that maybe to a music app and pair it with a melody.
Yeah, pair it with the melody, exactly. Or, I mean, you can start like me and get the melody going first and then see if the emotions come out. Yeah, because technology now has changed so much that you don't necessarily even have to be able to play an instrument to be able to write on an instrument now. And you don't have to have these expensive computer programs that producers use. You can have just a little keyboard on your cell phone, or you can download a guitar app and hit notes on a guitar too. So
that's really funny.
Like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so one direction or the other. So if you're starting to write a song, either write down your kind of thoughts and feelings about it, highlight those core ideas, and use that to start your lyrics, or download an app that's like a guitar app or a keyboard app and try to represent your feelings with that music. Exactly. And then pair the words.
Yeah, see if it pulls anything out of you. Because that's what it does for me. So I don't know.
Great.
We all work in different ways.
Well, and I think for so many of us, that kind of the 0 to 1 is the hardest part, but it's also the most exciting part of the exploration. The same thing that you're hitting with science, that you're hitting with art, that you're hitting whenever you're in your lockout, sitting on the floor, and you're just like, what am I feeling? What is going on?
Exactly. So, and you can pull out the strangest things sometimes. Like when I start writing, I'm like, I didn't even know I was having that emotional kind of like wavelength coming through me. So it's fun process.
Oh, that's so great. Well, thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you for having me. Excited to be here.
Yeah. Where can people find you and follow you online?
To find me, so I'd say Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. So it's just Miky Mik Official.
Okay. And that's MIKYMIK.
Exactly. MIKYMIK Official for mostly Instagram. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. And I'll have that in the show notes too.
Thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much for coming.
Are we
this was
cheersing
wonderful.
again?
Let's cheers.
Exactly.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Thank you. Join the community and share your creative challenges on Instagram and Facebook at Creators Cafe by Kika Labs. And also check out my website, kikalabs.com, KIKALABS.com, to sign up for the mailing list so you always know when a new podcast is released, and to check out my coaching and digital courses to help you be a more confident and joyful creator.